time is now 7:27 p.m. on this 7th day of December 2021, and I call this Business Committee meeting of the United Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. Mr. Gonzalez, could you please call roll?
At this time, Mr. Ricardo Molina,
Present.
Juan Roberto Ramirez,
Present.
and Mr. Frank Castillo.
Present. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Let the record show that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Public comments, do we have any public comments?
No, sir.
At this time.
Okay, agenda item number 2, items to be reviewed by the Business Committee for information only. Letter A, notice of grant applications to be submitted on behalf of the district.
Good evening, Superintendent and board members, and thank you for that vote earlier. It comes at a very good time for all of us. I'd like to tell you this evening that we're going to be working for the 2021-2022 COVID-19 School Health Support Grant. It comes to us from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Center for Disease Control, passed through the Texas Department of Health Services, and came to us through the TEA. So we've got all kinds of fun regulations to follow. It's for $1.6 million to support safe in-person instruction at schools by establishing a screening testing program by offering a grant opportunity for allowable support activities. The most wonderful thing about this grant is, again, it comes at a very necessary time, and we've already met together, worked on it, and our budget is there, and we're about to start really putting it in action. Thank you. Any questions?
I do have a question.
No questions, ma'am.
Well, I do have questions. Can you tell me, I always get confused, does this allow the public to come in and get these services?
Through vaccination and.
Through our vaccination outreach, yes.
Okay.
It should cover COVID vaccines, the cost that we incur as a school district in giving vaccination clinics, COVID testing. I don't think we could invite the public in for COVID testing as well.
Sometimes I get calls and they want to know, I saw a school district doing this and I'm not too sure if I should say yes, go ahead and go or not. So
Yeah.
that's the reason for my question. Thank you.
Not a problem, sir. And it's one of the things we're being very aware of and we're pushing is that the requirement of the grant says that we have to always say that it's for COVID prevention and mitigation. The prevention part are the public clinics that we offer, the vaccinations,
Okay.
and the mitigation is keeping our kids healthy. And you're going to see a big media push soon to encourage everybody to continue with their hand washing, being aware of flu symptoms, and coming up with things of that nature.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next item, letter B, budget calendar for 2022-2023.
Yes, good evening, members of the committee and Mr. Gonzalez and members of the audience. I also would like to thank you for your motion, and I know it's going to help a lot of our United ISD families, so I know they will appreciate it. The budget calendar, I don't know if you can move up, Sam. So it's a requirement for the superintendent to bring you a calendar for this coming year. Actually, it's a budget development calendar, so you'll see some dates there, and you'll see some activities, and some of these things we've already started talking about. One, for example, the proposed boundaries that Ms. Rendon has brought to you that eventually will be presented to parents and back to the board for approval. And then we start our work of looking at enrollment. We are concerned about our enrollment number. We look at attendance. We look at staffing guidelines. And then you see some orange dates. Those dates actually correlate with your business committee dates. So our plan is to be bringing you a budget 22-23 update at each of the business committee meetings in the spring 2022. So as we're developing our budget, we come and bring you updates. And you'll see the rest of the calendar. We should get to August, hopefully, with a balanced budget or something that looks like a balanced budget, tax rate, tax values, and then hopefully have you all adopt a budget in August so that we can start our next year, September 1, 2022, with an approved budget. So this is the calendar we hope to stick to.
Any questions?
Questions, sir?
Thank
No
you.
questions. Thank you. Thank you. Agenda item number 3, listed below are the financial operational items to be reviewed by the Business Committee with recommendations for action to be made at the next regular board meeting. Letter A, approval of monthly disbursements.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Castillo, Mr. Ramirez, Mr. Molina, and the audience. The Division of Finance presented the board with the disbursements that occurred during the month of November. I don't know if anyone has any questions on any of the disbursements at this time.
Any questions?
No questions?
No questions, okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Letter B, discussion regarding a plan of finance and consideration and approval of a resolution authorizing the issuance of United Independent School District Maintenance Tax Notes, Series 2022, entering into a bond purchase agreement and a paying agent/registrar agreement, delegating to certain district administrative staff and officials the authority to approve all final terms of the notes and other matters related thereto.
Yes,
Mr. Castillo, if I may, and Board Trustees, this item is going to be presented fully at our next board meeting, which will be next Wednesday. Mr. Flores.
Yes, sir. The financial advisors and bond counsel, along with co-bond counsel, will be here to do the presentation.
And not only for item B, but I believe also item C.
Yes, sir. It's the next item as well.
Yeah, so we'll have Robert Tierina and Dan Martinez in to present fully on those matters.
So I don't have to enter it here?
No, sir.
Okay, very good, thank you.
We can move on to D.
Thank you.
Letter D, approval of competitive seal proposals as the method of procurement for various bond projects.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Gonzalez. The following recommendations are for your consideration. Before we bring any construction project, before we bid it out, we have to ask the board for permission for the method of procurement if it's something other than our default method, which is job order contract. So the following proposals, we would like for them to be CSPs, which is renovations and additions at United South High School, renovations at Alicia Reese Elementary School, and renovations at United South Middle School.
Thank you.
Any
Did we discuss in Questions? the 15, right?
No
It's
questions?
going to be discussed on 15, right?
This will be, I'm
We're
sorry.
going to discuss this on the 15, or we're going to approve it tonight, that's fine, whatever.
As of now, it's on the consent agenda.
It's
It would-
already-
It would be
it's
up to
already on
legal if you want it on
Yeah, if you
consent.
guys would like to pull it for individual consideration, you could, but as of now, it'd be on consent.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Okay, no questions. No further questions? Thank you. Approval, letter E, approval of competitive seal proposals as the method of procurement for the construction of a new food production center for United ISD.
This is also a similar item, but this is for the food production center that will have to be relocated when TxDOT does the expansion on the loop. And so we're bringing this for your consideration as well. The budgetary information would be TxDOT and general fund.
I have a question. When you talk about competitive seal proposal, does that mean that we're going out on proposals? Or
That means that this is the method we would utilize. So you'll see that at the next couple of board meetings, we'll start bringing you the hiring of an architect to design. And then, then once the plans are done, then we bid it out. But this is just laying down the groundwork for the project.
Any questions?
No questions, sir?
Thank you. Letter F, approval of cooperative program contract related fees report for the 2019-2021 fiscal years.
As per CH local, we're required to bring any fees that we pay the co-op programs for any contracts that were over a $25,000 value. And so you'll see that most of our cooperatives that we belong to do not charge us a fee. In the past, you would see that they would charge us a fee, but right now, we're only paying fees whenever we buy vehicles. And then the controller does charge us an annual fee to use all of the DIR contracts and the text mass contracts. We also get, from some of our co-ops, there's a rebate program, so we did receive $610 from the buy board program and $209 from the TIPS program.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Letter G, approval of award of guaranteed maximum price, GMP, for design and construction of replacement for Clark Elementary.
Has
recommendation
the contract,
there-
the amount come in yet for from Landecker? What it's going to cost to bid, or it's up to the 15, right?
Yes, so the recommendation for your consideration is to approve the GMPs provided by Landecker Construction in the amount of $19,027,517, which includes a contingency allowance amount of $400,000. This agenda item was presented last night to the Bond Oversight Committee, and we also have a small presentation from Mr. Rangel to go over the plan.
What is the allowance amount? What does that refer to?
That's for any unforeseen issues that come up with the project. It's only at the district's discretion, so we may or may not spend the $400,000. It really depends. It's only up to the district use. The contractor cannot use that money without district authorization.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Good evening, members of the board, Mr. Castillo, Mr. Ramirez, Mr. Molina, Superintendent Gonzalez, Mr. Trotman, and members of the audience. So, as Ms. Jackson mentioned, we presented this item for consideration at the Bond Citizens Advisory Committee last night, and overwhelmingly they recommend to the board approval. The price submitted by Lion Decker, very competitive. We reviewed every part of their proposal very thoroughly, and it's below 15% below the RSME's average construction prices going on in the market. They did mention, Mr. Lion Decker sent a letter to the district that this price is effective only for 30 days because prices are rising every week almost pretty much, and by the beginning of the year, next January, guaranteed prices are going to go up, and we've been receiving a lot of those advisories from different sources, like U.S. News Report, News Engineering Record, Aris Means, that prices of steel and concrete, due to the high demand and low supply and a lot of import restrictions, are going to go up between 10 to 15%. So this proposal takes all that into account, and it is a design that was submitted working with the architects and our campus administrators, the administration. And I'm going to present here a floor plan, site plan of the property. There's a very detailed description there for your information, everything that's included in this price. Pretty much a turnkey price, guaranteed to not exceed, regardless of what happens in the market. So this is the floor plan that was developed by administration working with a contractor. As you can see, we're trying to keep them maintain the same prototype design like we built over the last 5 elementary schools, like San Isidro Elementary, Salinas Elementary. Yes, sir.
What's the capacity for Clark?
Yes, for Clark Elementary, this campus design would be about 550, 500 to 550, depending on,
That's the maximum?
Yes, sir. It does have 27 regular classrooms, plus it will have 2 special ed self-contained units, a science classroom, a music room, all the workrooms and multi-purpose rooms. Basically, we're keeping all of the amenities that we have in all of our other elementary schools, but it's a smaller capacity because Clark Elementary obviously has between 400 to 450 enrollment.
Pretty expensive for being so small, right? Because of
the price per square foot actually is very, very cost effective.
What's the price for a regular elementary before all of this?
Yes, I mean, like the last schools that we built were about $20 million, like Santos Elementary School and Salinas Elementary School.
The new one, Salinas is 20?
Salinas was about 20 million.
And Santos, how much?
Correct, yes, sir. Yes, about 20 million.
20 million?
Excuse me.
Why,
Yes, they were bid together pretty much at the same time as a package. This is a very different project from the typical prototypes, like the 5 elementary schools that we built.
Salinas and the sites the sites of Salinas and the sites over here?
Oh, so it's the same size, 10 acres.
How so more expensive, 10 million more for one than the other?
No, it was about the same price on both.
20?
Yes, sir, about 20 million. This school is, even though smaller, is higher because, 3 years later, 2 years when those other 2 schools were
I can't
quoted.
imagine how much middle school's gonna cost when it's built.
Well, at the middle schools already, we already have the contract, and we have the guaranteed maximum price for Ramirez Middle School and.
They're locked. The prices are locked, right, sir?
The prices are locked, they're not gonna go out there guaranteed. That's, the minute he receives the approval by the board, Mr. Landecker indicated to me actually today, he mentioned, I'm going to place tomorrow morning all the orders of millions of dollars of steel, materials, equipment.
Sheetrock, everything's very expensive.
Everything that's going up.
Thank you.
So
How many
there's-
students do you account in each classroom in order to get 504?
Yeah, typically about 20, it could vary sometimes between 18 to 22. I know 22 is maximum for K
the elementary.
to fourth grade, pre-K 4. But on the average, we just are conservative, go with 20. So we got to go to the site plan next to show just, I think we presented that at the last meeting, but just for your information, this is the last design exhibit that was prepared by the contractors and the architect. And looking at the traffic configuration to ensure it's safe to get to the campus. It's going to be on the north side of Clark Middle School. So it will have all the other, the traffic loop for buses, for parents. It's the same design concept as we just recently opened at Roberto Santos.
How many kids does Newman have right now, Mr.
I'm sorry?
Mr. Rangel, Newman Elementary, how many kids do they have?
About 400, sir.
Are you sure?
Newman Elementary?
They told me they had 300, that's why I'm asking. And they told me Gutierrez had 300, so, and Santo had 300, so that's pretty low. My elementary have 1,100, 1,200.
Newman lost to Santos.
And then Clark also.
Just for the record, Mr. Molina, we are having boundary meetings with our parents in come January, as we're going to try to balance all our campuses from the south to the north. And that's what the Ms. Rondon presented earlier in the instructional meeting. Just FYI.
So on this slide, I want to give you a little more detail for your information regarding this guaranteed maximum price. As you can see, we analyzed it, and the cost per square foot for this kind of building in this size would be about $173 per square foot. Now, to be able to compare with RS Means cost index, we have to delete site work, parking, and off-site utilities, because that's the way the RS Means figures it, because every building is going to be completely different. The site may be 3 or 4 times more expensive in certain locations. Utilities may be very far. Some may be right there. So that is taken out.
You always look for a better location for.
Absolutely, yes.
All that leveling.
Right.
All,
What helps there at Clark Elementary School, we have the utilities nearby, obviously for Clark Middle and for the existing Clark Elementary School. In some areas, we've talked to the city, they're capped, they're maxed out, but in other areas there is sufficient capacity. So once you take everything out, you can see that under the RS Means cost index, it's $182 per square foot. The price that Leyendecker is submitting, including everything that's on the RS Means, it's $173 square foot. So they are $9 per square foot less, which is almost about $1 million. So it is very competitive. And I think he's able to do this because obviously he has the purchasing capacity. And a lot of these components are similar to what we've used in the prototype. So he has a negotiating ability with a lot of suppliers.
I thought the parking lots and all that stuff was included with the building of the school.
It is included on the price of $19 million.
School, in other words.
It is included, yes, sir.
Yeah, because you have 19 million and they're charging all the rest extra, before, if I'm correct, they used to have everything. Everything came with a package,
Yes.
for 19 million.
It is included in the package. I would just, in order to compare cost per square foot with the RS Means, we deleted it from the 19 million, brought it down so that we can compare apples to apples and ensure that the price we're getting is competitive with the RS Means cost index. And then on the schedule that we're looking at, approximately we should have plans ready by February of next year, and then we can start activities of construction, getting permits in April or May of 2022. And our goal is to open it by August of 2023. Any questions regarding
No
this?
further questions, sir.
Any questions?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next item, approval of awarding bids, proposals, and qualifications.
Did we skip H?
We
The
did.
CSP 063? It's pending.
Yeah, we need to do H, which is discussion and possible action, discuss and possible action to recommend to the Board of Trustees approval of CSP 063 2021 installation of synthetic turf fields at UISD High School football fields.
I'm sorry, got ahead of myself.
No, no problem. Administration is recommending approval of CSP 063-2021, the installation of synthetic turf fields at United ISD high schools in the amount of $4,411,104, which includes a $400,000 contingency allowance, and the recommended vendor is Field Turf USA.
Are these for all the high schools or just
Yes, all
This
four.
would be all for high schools, sir. Yes, sir.
all high schools, right?
All for high schools.
Any questions?
No, sir.
Thank you. Next item, approval of awarding bids and proposals and qualifications.
The following are for your consideration. RFP 078-2021, child nutrition supplies to the vendors listed. RFP 076-2021, online assessment platform to Edulastic in the estimated annual amount of $77,400. RFP 066-2021, district-wide pest control services to JD's Pest Control. RFP 075-2021, district-wide HVAC filters to Filters for Air and Filter by Incorporated. RFP 074-2021, data center refresh to SQL Data Systems in the amount of $457,812.69. RFP 068-2021, police officer uniforms, equipment, and supplies to the vendors listed. RFP 069-2021, fuel to the following vendors: Arguindi, Petroleum Traders, and Suncoast Resources. This RFP is actually, we select the vendors for an annual contract, but as we need the fuel, we quote it out among the three vendors, so we do what's called daily rack quotes. And then we have one renewal for your consideration.
Any questions?
No questions.
No questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Really quickly, Mr. Castillo, items J through O were presented at the instructional committee meeting in the event you all would like to bypass them, but that is your all's
Not
option.
me.
Right.
You want to give it to
Bypass it,
all the,
bypass it, no?
It's your all's option, just letting you all know.
Back in
Thank
the,
you. Do you want to hear it?
no problem, no questions.
No questions. We'll go ahead and continue. Next item will be letter P, approval of second and final reading of local policies in update 118.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Castillo, Mr. Ramirez, Mr. Molina, members of the audience. Once again, we're bringing update 118 for consideration for second and final reading. Administration has reviewed all of the items with particular to these policies. And if you have any questions that we may entertain at this time, there's...
Exactly what does this do?
Sir, it replaces the local policies. There are legislative changes. TASB was a little behind in their updates because of so many legislative changes. As I mentioned to you at the previous meeting, I've never seen an update over 500 pages, legal and local. These are the local policies.
But generally speaking, what do
Oh,
they cover?
A lot of the personal positions, sir, some special programs. It gives superintendent some more latitude with regards to the accounting activities. In that sense, instead of him designating an individual, it talks a little bit about attendance, compulsory attendance, that students can go to, juniors now are being allowed to go to visit universities and not being penalized. So it's a lot of areas that were affected with regards to the last legislative changes.
Any questions? Thank you, Ms. Rendon. And letter Q, approval of requests of board member in reference to use of of Trustees discretionary funds for various campuses and departments.
Mr. Castillo, Mr. Molina, Mr. Ramirez, Mr. Gonzalez, members of the audience, in addition to what is being provided to you in your packet, we have some additional requests that came in. This is for United High School. Requester, Ms. Salazar, from Mr. Castillo, board member. It's 40 courtside logo chairs available for that particular campus for a total of $6,068. The next request is for JB Alexander High School. Mr. Sandoval is the requester. Mr. Castillo again, the sponsoring board member. Equipment for Alexander High School softball team for $2,000. United South High School, Ms. Ramirez, the requester. Mr. Rodriguez, Rick Rodriguez, the board member sponsoring the items. Funds requested for softball students to take trip to attend the University of Texas softball game in the spring. 50 students for a total of $1,000. And then finally, the last item is an amendment to a previously submitted one for Killam Elementary. Mr. Palizo is the requester. Mr. Rick Rodriguez sponsoring $25 incentive cards for students at Killam Elementary School for a total of $850.
Any questions?
No questions?
No questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Garcia. Thank you, sir. Okay, I think it concludes our meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second?
Okay, make a motion. Second. All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Meeting closes. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody.